Hello, I'm Tom Howard. I'm an attorney and I am available for you at thecollateralbase.com. It's the name that I chose to brand my law practice because it's worth fighting about. You can find a lawyer for it at the Collateral Base. I represented, a little of my backstory, I represented banks for approximately 10 years before I went out on my own to help other businesses, including financial institutions, but sometimes just other businesses, grow their own business and protect the businesses that they've made. One of the ways that those protections can be ruined is by a scam called check kiting. Check kiting came up quite often, and it was really shut down by a regulation called Check 21, which came out around the year 2001. And there have been some new industries that have grown out of that with digital checks and whatnot. A check kite takes advantage of people's lack of understanding about how the banks work. You see, the largest denomination in the country is just $100. And because of that, checks need to be written for large amounts. Take, for example, let's see if I can get this one to show up better. This check right here for a whole bunch of money, $375,972.80. This check will not be deposited into any bank account, and I will explain to you how I came by it. And I've already told the quote unquote client that we're going to shred this check. We're not depositing this check. Tell them to cancel payment on it. And now let's get into how the scam works. And out of all the scams I've seen, I also run a web agency called Stumari. So this website that you're watching this on, if you're watching it on thecollateralbase.com, is designed and developed by Stumari. And if you have any web needs for your business and want to make more money off of the internet, please visit us at stumari.co. End of advertisement. That company, Stumari, had a very similar check kite tried to be placed on it, but for much less than $375,000. They only went for $5,000 on that same setup, except with the $5,000, that was ripped credit card info. So some Chinese scammer stole some credit card numbers and then was trying to convince people that they were fine, and they would overpay for something so that you would then refund them the balance after taking your cut, of course, because how nice of them to give you too much money, and hopefully you'll be honest and only take what you reasonably earned and then pass along the rest to them. Oh yes, very nice of them to do that. So what a check kite does is it takes advantage of presentment to a depository institution, and then how long check funds have to clear. You see, there's provisional credits that happen. So if I was to deposit this BS check into my law firm's account, what would happen is there would be a provisional credit of the amount, and then the depository bank makes a demand to the presenting bank, and then one of the banks even say yes, the money is good, and they change hands as to where that deposit is, and so that bank is, the provisional credit becomes a real credit, and the check has cleared. That wouldn't happen in this case. They would make the provisional credit. They would the depository bank would then go to the presenting, I believe it's called the presenting bank, and I don't have my Article 3 of the UCC up right here, and I didn't prepare this. I got this and I said, oh how nice. And I'll give you the backstory about this scam, which is the best scam that I've seen, and there's the most believable scam that I've seen. But check kiting takes advantage of people thinking that they've gotten money because they're playing this. It's also sometimes called the float, where they have the provisional crediting, and then the depository institution goes to the presenting bank. So for this one, it'd be Scotiabank, a Canadian bank. Interesting, a Canadian bank. And then that bank would say, oh no, this isn't a good check. And so that provisional credit is then terminated. Now, what happens if you've already taken out the money? You're in trouble. Why? because a bank doesn't owe you a fiduciary duty. Being a depositor at a bank doesn't create any of those fiduciary duties. It just creates a debtor-creditor relationship. And that, out of my mind's eye, I want to say it's Article 404 or 402 of Article 4 of the Uniform Commercial Code. Again, represented banks for many years. The chapter and verse, you kind of forget both the chapter and verse. You can just picture it and say, like, no, there's this law, this is how it works. I know it's there. I can't recall what the name of it is or any of those things, but that's why you have books. You go and you look it up after you have the hunch. And there was case law on this exact setup to try to take advantage of law firms for fraudsters, and they go for a lot of money. So they were going for almost $376,000. And now I guess we can tell you the backstory as to the scam. The scam goes like this. A lot of business for lawyers is made from the internet. I have several clients that I've gotten from collateralbase.com or one of my other websites that I use to publish and promote legal services that I can help businesses and people with. And because of that, you get recognition if you're a good lawyer and you work real hard, and then people are impressed by you. And law is not all that different from any other business, in the sense that people always like to say that they're the best, or we're the first place in who's who, and who's making up all these ratings, and how come a cigar is rated 93? Seriously, I mean, everybody's got a rating for sometimes, because people appeal to outside authority to provide you with more assurance that the person that you are buying or the product you're buying is good, high quality stuff. So these guys said that they found me on superlawyers.com. I'm not going to read their names, but it was one company from Japan. All right. This company from Japan had a Bloomberg listing on it. And I'm not sure if Bloomberg listings are like Wikipedia pages, perhaps. It had a website in Japanese, not a very fancy website, but then you translated it and it looked like it was just a medical supply provider. And they had, in my own city that I live in, they had another industry, with the just generic name of this industry. And then they had some Google Maps where this industry was like actually listed on Google Maps. And like I said, it's the most sophisticated scam that I've seen. And so now I've got a website, I've got a possible client, I've got breach of contract action for over $1 million. They send me, I listen to their pitch. I never got them on the phone, by the way. It's just all email. Never got them on the phone. And this happens a lot. You need to sift through a lot of people that may or may not need your services, or just trying to get free legal advice to get to the clients that actually you can help. And so they said that there is this, settlement agreement for over $1 million. And I'm looking and I'm like, well, this says it's a company, and they also have a website there. So they've spun up these fake websites. They've created this fake company. They've created another fake company that is in my hometown. And then they say that there's been a payment that's been made pursuant to this settlement. Now, I've never talked to the person on the other side of the V. I've only talked to my potential client. My client signs the engagement letter. They don't even blink at the $5,000 retainer. They say, oh, yes, this check is in the mail. Meanwhile, there is no check in the mail. And then the fraudster updates the scam to say, oh, they've made a payment, partial payment, and so we aren't going to pursue anything at the time. If you do get a check for the retainer, please deposit it and take out your fees that you have incurred thus far, and then that will act as the retainer. But we don't need to take any more action. I've not talked to I was supposed to make a demand on the person that I would have sued, and I didn't even get to that stage where I'm going to make the demand. Pursuant to this settlement agreement that you entered into with such and such, and pay us by a day, whatever, or we shall file. Didn't even get to that. And so then I get this check for $376,000 from that defendant. I haven't mentioned that I'm representing this other company from Japan, and I'm in Peoria. They're in Peoria. Magically, why didn't they call me and just say, hey, we made a payment? Moreover, why did this company make a payment to the law firm that I'm at? And the dumbest thing is, okay, now checks are kind of like written like this, and then there's usually a ledger at the bottom that kind of like does an accounting. This is like a memo on a check. That's another red flag. There's no such thing as memos on checks. Now, these things at the bottom here, you can see the numbers. All right, those numbers, at least, and I could pull out like a real check. I'm not going to show you that because that real check would have different numbers, because there's an ABA routing number that the ABA routing number is 9 digits. And then there's usually, so it goes ABA routing number, that's under the memo line typically. And then there's your account number, which is closer to your signature line on the check. That's, these aren't matching up here. I don't see the 3, no, that's 8. No, but it is Canadian check. So maybe that's why. The weirdest thing is that this is a company that, and the top of the check, right here, you can't see that well. Right there, the guy who mailed it evidently mailed it from the city that I'm in. But yet it comes in this FedEx internationally from Canada. Do you know any local businesses that have FedExes that come from Canada to send their checks? No. So, in perpetrating this scam, these, they're criminals. They aren't stupid. They're just dishonest. They're probably watching this right now and just like, ooh, I can't believe we didn't get away with it. It is funny, but it's also sad. And you have to be careful out there, because these types of scams happen to attorneys regularly. There was a case from just 5 years ago where another lawyer in the area got taken for approximately the same amount of money, and that sucks. But you have to understand that check kiting in these types of scams typically goes along the lines of, here's a check, deposit it, and pay us the balance. So you're going to do that fast. You're not going to do that. You're not going to deposit the check and wait for it to clear very often. You're going to deposit the check, not know that there's this time period, this float that's out there where it's a provisional credit and the check hasn't cleared. And they're relying on it, and they're preying on it. They're gonna hope that you deposit this check, see all this money in your account, inflate your bill to say, oh yeah, that was $7,000 worth of work, and then send them the rest. And then who's going to be on the hook? You, because that provisional credit that gets reversed. All right, now I've made a transfer of money to a bank in Canada, Japan, out of the jurisdiction. I know that. Plus, it's not the bank's fault this happened. If I would have read my account agreement, this type of provisional credit would have all been explained. Does anybody read the account agreement? No. Anyway, typically here at the Collateral Base, we discuss issues related to your stuff and how you can protect it and how you protect your business, and the best methods and practices to navigate litigation and contract drafting. But every now and then, we get to talk about check kiting, fraud, scams, and I'm not going to shred this check. There's no way in hell I'm depositing it, but I am going to look at it every now and then when I need a good laugh and be like, there are some criminals out there, and we'll protect you from them. And if you have any questions about your business, please visit us at thecollateralbase.com. And if you watched it this far, for God's sakes, please like and subscribe.